And I think we can now move to the next item. I mean, the first item, the next meeting. We are done with the responses which have been provided. We really appreciate them. So, Lindy, what is the procedure? Can you please guide us? Are we moving now to the next meeting? Please come in.
Thank you very much, Chair. We are in the second phase where we will normally follow the normal procedure where we'll welcome both chairpersons, and as well we record attendance and apologies, and we proceed with the presentation. That will be the process. We are starting the joint meeting now.
Okay. No, thank you very much, Lindy, for the clarity. Good morning to all honorable members, the departmental officials, and then everybody that is present, all the stakeholders in the platform. Honorable members, I think I need to indicate up front that I'm standing in for our chairperson, Honorable Mvana, who is also part of the meeting, but is experiencing some technical glitches wherever she is. But I also need to indicate another issue as well to the meeting, that Honorable Mvana has since lost a granddaughter yesterday. So on behalf of the Portfolio Committee, I would like to sincerely send our condolences to the Mvana, to Honorable Mvana and the family, and then wish to be strong during this difficult moment of bereavement. So our prayers will be with her during this moment of bereavement. So honorable members, during your spare time or when honorable members have got an opportunity, you are more than welcome also to convey the messages of support to our honorable chairperson Mvana, so that she is actually strengthened by the messages. Thank you very much, honorable members. We'll proceed with our joint Portfolio Committee meeting. I'm not alone. I will be joined by, we are also joined by our colleagues in the National Council of Provinces. Honorable Gillian is also here, the chairperson of the Select Committee in the NCOP. So I will not be alone. And then our colleagues as well in the NCOP, they are all in the meeting. So I will do the remarks, and then I will also hand over to Honorable Gillian also, just to maybe say one or two words, and then we can proceed with the meeting. Over to you, Honorable Gillian.
Hi, good morning, Chairperson. Thank you very much. Let me take the opportunity also to welcome the members to this meeting. I think this is a very important meeting. And I just want to find out from our secretary if all our members are present.
Good morning, Chairpersons. My name is Marcel Williams. I'm the Committee Secretary for the Select Committee on Health and Social Services. Chairperson, we do have a quorum on our side. We are having issues with members trying to join, but we do have a quorum for our side. Thank you, Chair. We have yourself, Ms. Ndongeni, Ms. Christians, Mr. Thuli, and Mr. Baha. Thank you, Chair.
All the NCOP members in the House.
Thank you very much, Honorable Gillian. Are you done now? Because there were some technical glitches when you were on the podium.
Yes, I think it's the network. But Comrade Stock, Chairperson, it is a great pleasure for us to have this joint meeting with you so that we can just finish the unfinished business that is in connection with the appointment. But I'll hand the meeting over to you. I will switch off my video. I think I've got some technical difficulties here. Thank you, Comrade Stock.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, Honorable Gillian, for the input and some opening remarks from your side, which I actually appreciated. Honorable members, let me take this opportunity to officially declare our meeting open. I think we had an opportunity already when Comrade Mvana opened the meeting to bow our heads and observe a moment of silence, prayer, or meditation. So we are hoping that all honorable members had an opportunity to interact with the Almighty, or maybe through prayer or meditation and so forth. So that is appreciated. Honorable members, you are well welcome to the meeting. Our meeting is officially opened. Can I now hand over to Lindy to flight the agenda, and then we proceed with the issues, the items in the meeting. Over to you, Lindy.
Thank you very much, Acting Chair. Here is the agenda for your consideration.
Okay. No, thank you very much, honorable members. Here's the agenda in front of all of us. We already dealt with the opening and welcome between the two chairpersons, myself, the acting chair, and Honorable Gillian. And then we are now with the item number 2, which is the introduction of MPs and departmental officials. And then we deal with the apologies. Can I hand over to the two secretaries to take us through? Lindy on the side of the National Assembly in terms of roll call, apologies, and then Marcel in the NCOP. Thank you very much. Over to you.
Okay, thank you very much, Acting Chair. I have the following members that are present in today's meeting, the 30th of November 2022. I have Member Mvana, Member Abrahams, Member Stock, Member Opperman, Member Bilankulu, Member Aris, Member Hlongo, Member Masango, Member Mare. In terms of apologies, I've received an apology from Member Fana Merve, who indicated that she will be attending the PC on Home Affairs, as well should be in and out of this meeting and the Home Affairs meeting. Also, Member Sukers, she won't be with us today due to prior commitments. Another apology is from the Minister, Honorable Zulu, who is attending the cabinet meeting today, as well as the Deputy Minister. She is attending a build-up event for World AIDS Day, which is held in Bloemfontein today. So those are the attendance and apologies from the PC. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you very much, Lindy. Can we hand over to the Secretary of the Select Committee, Ms. Marcel Williams?
Good morning again. Thank you, Chairperson. From the Select Committee on Health and Social Services chairs, we have Honorable Gillian, Ms. Ndongeni, Ms. Christians, Ms. Latuli, and Mr. Baha. I have not received any apologies, but I am aware that Ms. Nkosi and traveling or struggling. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Marcel.
Honorable Stock. It's
yes.
Honorable Nkosi. I managed to join. I'm in. Thank you.
Oh, no, thank you very much, Comrade Nkosi. Let me also thank our two secretaries for the presentation, just to give us an idea of who's in the meeting, who's not in the meeting. So we note the apologies of the Minister, Deputy Minister, and other honorable members as well, who might not be in the meeting, who might not be able to join the meeting. So we note those apologies. Can we get a mover and an adoption for the agenda, honorable members? Honorable Hlongo, over to you.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Greetings to honorable members and the department. I move for the adoption of the agenda as presented. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Honorable Hlongo moves for the adoption of the agenda. Honorable members, can we get the seconder for the adoption? To second Honorable Hlongo for the adoption of the agenda. I see the end of Honorable Nkosi. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. Greetings to your good self, the members and the department and the supporting staff. I second the move for the adoption. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The agenda has been duly adopted, honorable members. We proceed to the next item in our agenda, which is the briefing by the Department of Social Development on the appointment of medical and legal practitioners as members of the Independent Tribunal for Social Assistance Appeals. But before we move to the agenda, I would like to make a few remarks with regards to the article that was published on the Ground Up online newspaper about the Department of Social Development being biased against adoption, according to the judge, which was actually published on the 23rd of November, 2022. The summary of the TT and BB case, the application raised the important issue of adoption and the plight of two minor children, which was actually, the other one was born in 2018, the other one in 2019, to respectively the first and second applicants, unmarried major students who had been abandoned by their parents when they became pregnant. The applicants made the difficult choice to consent to the adoption of the children in the children's best interest. So the applicants in this particular case sought a declaratory relief to retain the privacy and confidentiality of the respective parties. They also sought a review and setting aside of a letter of non-recommendation of the adoption of be issued to the Gauteng Department of Social Development in terms of Section 239(1)(d) of the Children's Act. The review and setting aside of the National Department of Social Development's practice guidelines on national adoption under the principle of legality and various declaratory orders pertaining to the violation of the constitutional rights. They also sought the application to further concerns the interpretation of the various provisions of the Act, and if found to be unconstitutional, a declaration to that effect. So with regard to the court decision, honorable members, the court then declared the adoption guidelines as unconstitutional and inconsistent with the Children's Act, as they seem to go beyond the wording, the spirit, as well as also purport of the Children's Court. The letter of non-recommendation issued by the Department of Social Development in Gauteng in terms of Section 239(1)(d) of the Children's Act 38 of 2005 on July 21, 2020, in respect of the application for the adoption of BT, is reviewed and set aside and is substituted with a decision recommending BT's adoption by the 11th and 12th respondents. So, honorable members, I think the Department of Social Development on national adoptions are declared to be inconsistent with the Constitution of the Republic of South Africa, and therefore invalid and are reviewed and set aside. So I just wanted to make a few remarks with regard to this, because it was making rounds for the past week or so, and many honorable members might have actually picked this thing up, which is an area of great concern. So, honorable members, I would like to appeal to all of us to allow the department to study the judgment, and as soon as they are ready, we'll then be able to request them to come back to the portfolio committee and be able to take us through and give us a comprehensive briefing with regard to their position, the legal position that they have taken on the matter. So I thought these are actually a very important area of concern. Now that the Children's Amendment Bill is also tabled before the portfolio committee today, it's also in the agenda. The first item will be the tribunal on the social assistance appeals, which we are actually going to get the briefing from the department. So the second item will also be on the Children's Amendment Bill. The Children's Amendment Bill, which was actually adopted in the National Assembly and then referred to the National Council of Provinces. The bill has also been processed in the National Council of Provinces, and then due to some minor technical amendments, the bill has since been referred back to the National Assembly for consideration on the minor technical amendments. So the bill is before us. Those are the two items, honorable members. So I would like to appeal to honorable members to be able to engage constructively as we move forward to deal with the issues that are before the portfolio committee today. Honorable members, let me hand over to the acting DG and the team to take us through in terms of the presentation that is before us. Thank you very much, Honorable acting DG.
Okay, let's go. Thank you very much, Honorable Chair, and a very good morning to
yourself, to honorable members, both in the Portfolio Committee on Social Development as well as the Select Committee on Health and Social Affairs. Let me also, on behalf of the Minister and the Honorable Minister, the leadership of the Department of Social Development, send through our condolences to the Honorable Chair for the loss of a grandchild, and we pray for peace and strength for you and the family at this time, Honorable Chair, and our sincere condolences in this regard, Honorable Chair. Honorable members, we are presenting to you by way of consultation within the context of the Social Assistance Act 2004 as amended, the process which we have followed insofar as the advertisement selection and recommendation of the members who would serve on the medical and legal practitioners who would serve on the Independent Tribunal for Social Assistance Appeals. We're presenting this to the Parliament, and interpretation of Parliament is both houses, or both committees rather, the NCOP as well as the Select Committee rather, as well as the Portfolio Committee. Now, can we then go to the next slide? I want to just highlight a few points by way of providing context and I suppose highlighting the purpose as well. The Independent Tribunal, which I referred to for social assistance appeals, Honorable Chair, was established in 2008 when the Minister, the then Minister, appointed first medical and legal professions to serve on the Independent Tribunal. The tribunal provides an independent review mechanism of SASSA's decisions through appropriately qualified medical and legal practitioners, which report to the Minister of Social Development. So we look at the decisions that SASSA has put forward, through which recipients or applicants rather can appeal to the Independent Tribunal. The responsibility to adjudicate appeals is actually a legislative and it's legislated and it's a legislative mandated function. And it's derived in Section 18 of the Social Assistance Act 2004 as amended. It gives effect to the constitutional rights of citizens to administrative justice. I think that's important, and this is in line with the Protection of Administrative Justice Act 2000, which is better known as the PAJA Act, which requires that internal remedies to address an administrative action should be exhausted preceding judicial review. Now, the responsibility to appoint members to the tribunal to consider appeals rests purely with the Minister of Social Development. I want to remind members of a recent amendment to the Act, which then required the Minister to appoint members after consultation with Parliament, and hence we are here today. This is the consultation process that we are following. And of course, we provide an overview of the advertisement, the selection process undertaken by the department to ensure that the Minister is able to appoint appropriately qualified medical and legal practitioners to serve as members on this important tribunal. I must highlight, honorable members, a very important point that we are only focusing on the appointment of medical and legal members of the tribunal required for adjudication of normal grants today. Therefore, we are not talking about the 350 grants or appeals related to the COVID-19 SRD 350 grant, as the appeals mechanism for the SRD grant is regulated through the SRD regulations, for which members who possess the necessary technical and audit skills, etc., were duly appointed by the Minister prior to the implementation of the amendment. So what we are saying is we are not talking about any other grant. We're not talking about the SRD grant in terms of the role and responsibilities of this particular tribunal. It has a different process on its own, which is an appeals mechanism, which we are not discussing today. Today, we are talking about all grants besides the SRD 350 grant. I just wanted to highlight that. We've had a good success rate in terms of meeting appeals within the prescribed period of 90 days in the past 5 years or so. We've been sitting at about a 90%, 90 to 95%, average in meeting our specific targets. And this is not because it's not 100%, it actually is because in some cases we have to send back the documents for secondary medical opinions or make additional referrals. So that may go beyond the 90 days, but we actually adjudicate every single case that comes through. In 2019, in anticipation of the implementation of the Amendment Act, which removes the reconsideration mechanisms within SASSA and provides direct access to appealants to lodge appeals with the tribunal, the minister appointed 19 medical and 20 legal practitioners at the time to deal with the anticipated influx of appeals. Now, it's important to highlight that before the expiry, which was 30 September, the minister, 30 September this year, the minister extended the term of 6 medical and 4 legal practitioners who were still eligible for appointment. The others were not because they had other reasons why they could not be continued to be appointed. Either they have served a long period of time already and their term is up, or other related reasons. So today we're going to talk purely on the process to advertise the selection and recommendations made to the minister, which we will put before the committee on the specific members. But I must indicate that the current members actually come to an end in March next year. And so we would want the committee to assist us in expediting this process so that we don't have a gap. We may not be able to fill the rest of the, we may not be able to actually have the tribunal after March. And so this is why we're here today. Let's go to the first slide. So just at a high level, after the advertisement process, 19 applications were received for the medical practitioners and 61 applications were received for the legal practitioners. And during the consideration process, the applicants were evaluated according to the appointed criteria as determined in the 2022 regulations, their relevant experience within the medical impairment and community service, social assistance or regulatory framework. So I just wanted to highlight that. Let's just go to, I'm not going to deal with the presentation outline. I think this will flow as we move along. We're basically going to talk to criteria, process, and recommendations as we take that forward. Let's go to the slide before this. And I just want to reiterate a few things. In terms of Section 27 of the Constitution, everyone has a right to have access to social security, including if they are unable to support themselves and their dependents appropriate social assistance. The Bill of Rights further determines in Section 33 that everyone has the right to just administrative action, hence PAJA. To this effect, the right of administrative justice, the Social Assistance Act, as amended, provided applicants and beneficiaries of social assistance with the right to appeal a decision by SASSA in relation to their grant applications. Members of the Independent Tribunal accordingly exercise the legislative function in terms of Section 18, as I indicated, of the Act, and it reads as follows. The Minister must, after consultation with Parliament, appoint an independent tribunal comprised of appropriately qualified persons, as may be prescribed, to serve as members of the Independent Tribunal to consider appeals against decisions of the agency. Now, just to say that before May, this wasn't the case that we needed to consult Parliament. That's why you'll know that this is the first time that we are coming to Parliament with this particular piece of work, and hence, because we have to comply with the regulations that were amended earlier this year. Let's go to the next slide. Let me just highlight that between April and September this year, SASSA received 981,000 grant applicants of which 887,000 were approved, and a total number of 92,000 grant applicants were rejected. And of course, the rejections then lead to the appeals. This number you will see is an extremely high number. But again, remember that we're talking about all grant types. The highest level of applications is the child support grant and then the disabilities grant. It is a bit of a high number because it in a way highlights the levels of poverty in our country. But there's some context that needs to be put to this. Firstly, around 1 million, 1.2 roughly kids are born every year. And from that, we estimate that about 800,000 or so will eventually apply for, are likely rather to 700 to 800,000 are likely to apply for the grants through the CSG through their parents. We must also note, however, that there's a number of people who are turning 60 from 59 who then fall out of the category of the provision of grants. And then, of course, there are a number of sort of older people who are passing on because of age. So whilst there's a large number coming on, there is also a large number coming off. And when you subtract that number coming off to the number that's coming on a 6-month or an annual basis maybe, you'll find that actually the growth rate of grants in South Africa per annum sits anywhere between 200 and 300,000. So you must understand that context, which is important because the number here may seem a little too high, but there is a balancing act that happens in the number that come off the grant. The rejection by SASSA presents approximately 9% of the grants applications during the period. In other words, about 90% or so of the decisions by the tribunal actually confirm SASSA's original decisions, and about 8% rather, or so, 8 to 9% or so, are actually those that are processed through to get through. So it also indicates that SASSA systems are actually in a way quite accurate or quite good in making the decisions that they make. During the same period, the tribunal received a total number of 2,591 appeal applications. The majority of appeals were, however, received in the second quarter between June and September, following the implementation of the amended act. And in terms of the regulatory framework, the tribunal needs to adjudicate appeals within a 90-day period, as I indicated, from receipt. And this is in line with the requirements of PAJA. If the tribunal fails to adjudicate appeals within 90 days, it creates a serious litigation risk. So I think that was just the context I wanted to paint. I'm going to ask Advocate Brink to come in, and then I will come in at the end when she's done, where we will then hand over back to you, Honourable Chair. Advocate Brink.
Thank you so much, DG, and good morning to the Honourable Chair as well as the Honourable members.
Next slide.
If we can just go there, I think it's important just to indicate the legislative background, like DG also indicated, that before 2008, the Social Assistance Act actually provided for an internal appeal relating to decisions on social assistance to the Minister. And at the time, the Minister exercised this appeal function by delegation to the DSD Legal Services on an ad hoc basis. However, I think a lot of the members that were still part of the committee at that stage would know that there was creating a severe backlog from all the number of appeals that even came from the provinces at the time. So the Social Assistance Act was then amended in 2008 to determine that where the Minister appoints a tribunal, all appeals relating to social assistance, including those referred to the Minister, must be referred to the tribunal. The Minister established the Independent Tribunal, like DG said, in 2008 by appointing members, legal and medical members, to serve on the tribunal. The Social Assistance Act was then further amended in 2010 to introduce a reconsideration mechanism within SASSA before a person could actually proceed to lodge an appeal with the tribunal. At the time, the objective was to ensure that SASSA could deal with any administrative errors, thereby reducing the number of appeals submitted to the tribunal. However, part of the new legislative reforms was that during 2015, SASSA approached the Minister requesting the removal of the reconsideration process as it resulted in delays for appellants to access administrative justice. Just for the record, at that stage, the confirmation from the reconsideration process, the output from SASSA was that over 99% actually confirmed the original decision made by SASSA, and therefore the delay of 90 days at that stage was quite significant. The Social Assistance Act was then amended in 2020 to remove the provision for reconsideration by SASSA and allow for the direct lodging of an appeal to the tribunal. However, the Social Assistance Amendment Act was only operationalized together with the new regulations on the 30th and 31st of May this year, shortening the period for access to administrative justice from 180 days to 90 days. Now, due to the direct access provided to appellants since June, the number of appeals received by the tribunal has increased significantly. We previously received an average of 150 appeals per month, but we are now standing at 750 per month, and it is continuously increasing, which also poses a challenge to us with the existing number of members that we've got. We can move to the next slide. Yes, there we are. As indicated, Section 18 provides that if an applicant or beneficiary disagrees with the decision of the agency, that person can lodge an appeal within 90 days of the decision being made, and it needs to be a written appeal that goes to the Independent Tribunal, and the process for the lodging is prescribed in the 2022 appeal regulations. When lodging an appeal, the appellant must set out the reasons for the appeal, and then the Act empowers the tribunal to, upon receipt of an appeal, request SASSA to provide the reasons and all relevant records which inform their decision to the tribunal. The tribunal must, upon receipt of the reasons and all relevant records from SASSA, consider the appeal. And I think it's important to state that the members of the tribunal need to act openly, fairly, and impartially during the assessment of all the documentary evidence, and may then confirm, vary, or set aside the decision, or make any other decision which is just. And that is, for instance, where we see that the information is not sufficient or the medical records no longer exist, that we can refer SASSA to say that they need to do a reassessment and actually submit that new evidence to us as well. If we can move to the next slide, there we are. Just this is an indication of the composition of the tribunal according to the top grant type. It's the composition of the independent tribunal is dependent and based on the specific type of social assistance, the grant type to which the appeal relates. The regulations determine that where the dispute relates to medical assessment of the appellant, that is the disability, care dependence, war veterans, or granting aid, the tribunal will be constituted as follows. Firstly, a medical practitioner whose role is to assess and make recommendation on all medical aspects and advise the legal practitioner thereon. And then secondly, a legal practitioner who will then decide and rule whether the decision of SASSA is to be confirmed, varied, or set aside, and record the reasons and sign off the decision. And the role of the legal practitioner is there then to ensure that the procedure was followed correctly, that SASSA acted within the scope of the regulatory framework, that the decision was reasonable and also fair based on the documentary evidence before it. Where the dispute relates to any other aspect not mentioned, that is, any aspect that doesn't relate to the medical impairment per se, for instance, means test appeals or procedural appeals, then the appeal will be considered by the legal practitioner on its own. We can move to the next slide. Yeah, the criteria for the requirements of appointment is stipulated in the regulations, 22 appeal regulations. And here, in relation to the medical practitioner, it needs to be registered. The medical practitioner must be a person who's registered with the Health Professional Council South Africa. The person must have at least 5 years post-registration experience in the practice of medicine. The registration with the council should not have been revoked. The person must have knowledge of the relevant provisions of the Act and the regulations made thereunder. It's also a requirement that the person should not be in the full-time employ of the public service or an organ of state, which includes SASSA or any district or provincial hospital. And also whose appointment will not give rise to a conflict of interest. In addition thereto, we also required in the advertisement that the experience in the evaluation of medical impairment will be an added advantage because that is actually the basis of the majority of our appeals. If we can go to the criteria for the legal practitioners, there the regulations require firstly that the person must have at least 5 years post-admission experience in the practice of law. The person must also have knowledge on the relevant provisions of the Act and the regulations made thereunder. Once again, the appointment should not give rise to the conflict of interest. And also the person must not be in full-time employee of the public service of an organ of state for obvious reasons. And then also we required in the addition that experience in community legal service will also be an added advantage. Okay, there we go to the process. During December last year, we went through the process of getting approval from the minister to go out on the advertisements, and the advertisements to invite the suitable candidates to be enlisted as members were placed on all the departmental social media platforms. That includes Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and then thereafter also placed in 2 national newspapers, the Sunday Times and the Sowetan, during January with a closing date of 15 February. The advertisement was also extended to various organizations of and for people with disabilities. When we looked at the applications, the breakdown is in relation to age, gender, and geographical location. The majority of applicants, or all the applications were of applicants aged between 30 and 67 years. 40% of all the applications that we received were from females and 60 from males. 73 of all the applications were received from the Gauteng province. And unfortunately, no applications were received from persons with disability. So in May, we once again extended it to organizations through our networks. For people and the persons with disability, we only received, unfortunately, 1, but the person wasn't a medical practitioner or legal practitioner, accordingly couldn't be appointed. If we look at the selection process, 19 applications were received from medical practitioners and 61 from legal practitioners. During the processing of these applications, we vetted them through the relevant governing bodies, which is the HPCSA Council, as well as all the various law societies in the different provinces. The selection panel then convened during May to consider all the applications based on the qualifying criteria and based on the number of appeals to be received by the tribunal. And there, I think it's important to note that we estimated approximately 9,000 appeals per annum, which was informed by the average reconsideration statistics of SASSA for the past 5 years. And then we actually aimed initially to appoint 20 legal and 20 medical practitioners, but unfortunately, due to the number of 19 applications, we ultimately appointed 14 medical practitioners and 20 legal practitioners, which is according to the criteria. That's the recommendation. Once again, applicants who were in the employ of an organ of state who have already served for 2 consecutive periods of 3 years were unfortunately not eligible for enlistment, and that is where also the 4 medical practitioners, in addition of the 19 or the 5, fell off from that process. We can go to the recommended medical. All medical practitioners who applied to be enlisted and then who qualified with the prescribed criteria are recommended for appointment, and that excludes those 5 that I indicated that already served or was already serving as an organ of state or doing already SASSA medical assessments currently, so we can't, there will be a conflict of interest. The legal practitioners who are recommended have experience in medical-related impairment, social security, or other type of administrative law experience. And there, because of the huge number of applications, we actually then looked at, for instance, where people have experience in COIDA, RAF, or any different type of administrative tribunals, and assessment and adjudication that we used as a filter. The recommended members differ in age ranges from 30 to 67. 50% of the total recommended members are female. The recommended members are representative of all racial groups, and then ultimately 73% of the recommended members were situated within Gauteng, but that's also based on the fact that the majority of the applications that we received came from Gauteng. If you can move to the next slide. This is just a breakdown per province of the list of candidates who then are submitted that was submitted to the Minister for appointment. There you'll see medical firstly. Of the 19 applications received, 14 were recommended, and there you'll see the breakdown. For instance, in Eastern Cape, we didn't receive any application for medical. Free State, 2, we recommended 1. Gauteng, 14, we recommended 11. KZN, 1, we recommended 0 because that person was already doing medical assessments for SASSA. Limpopo, 0. Mpumalanga, we didn't receive any applications. Northern Cape, for medical, no applications received. And in Western Cape 2, and we recommended both of them. With reference to the legal practitioners, of the 61 applications received, 20 were recommended, and there you'll also see the breakdown. Eastern Cape 4, we recommended 2, Free State 2, 1, Gauteng 44, but we only recommended 14, KZN 4, we recommended 1, Limpopo 2, 1, and then Northern Cape 1. In Mpumalanga Northwest, we didn't receive any applications. In Western Cape, we received 4. We could only recommend 1 based on the criteria. Then ultimately, sir, we would really appreciate and that the joint committee then recommended supports the process undertaken by the Minister to appoint the medical and legal practitioners as members of the Independent Tribunal to proceed with the work that they need to do to ensure administrative justice and also timeless administrative justice. Thank you so much, sir.
Thanks, Brink. This is the presentation, honorable members. I want to check firstly whether Brenda has any inputs to make. No inputs. So just to highlight, honorable members and honorable chair, there is a good balance in age. As you can see, we've received applicants between the ages of 30 and 67. They say 57, 67, 67. There's a good balance of race. As you can see, we have provided an annexure which obviously deals with the specific candidates and so on, which is part of the pack that honorable members would have received, and there is again a very good balance of race. We were challenged with the persons with disabilities, but we went the extra mile. We want to believe. We contacted the various networks or organizations of persons with disabilities. Unfortunately, we only received 1 application, and we were not able to take that application because they were not a medical practitioner as indicated. Of course, we were worried about provinces like Mpumalanga, Northwest, and Northern Cape because there were no applications received, even though we did process through the various networks and all social media that we have as a department as well, to make sure that we try and get as many people as possible to apply. Out of the 19 medical, we've got 14 that have been put forward, and out of the 61 legal practitioners, we've got 20 that have been put forward. Honorable members, honorable chair, that's it. The minister is requesting this consultation, and we hope that you'll be happy with the process undertaken accordingly, and that will then enable the minister to proceed, or to the minister to take note of whatever input you may raise, and then finalize the appointment process of this tribunal. As I indicated, we are running slightly behind time because we want to make sure that we appoint the tribunal as a matter of urgency. We only have 10 members at the moment. And for all intents and purposes, they may not be able to continue after March next year. We know that Parliament rises next week, and the House will reconvene, or houses will reconvene at some point next year, February onwards, and we wouldn't want to put any additional pressure on members at that point in time. So, Honourable Chair, let me leave it at that for now. That is our first presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Acting DG, and your team as well for the presentation on the tribunals. The tribunal. Of course, it's a concern maybe from us in terms of the provinces that applied, but they were not considered because those people that applied, they were very few and they did not meet the criteria. In terms of age, one is also appreciating the fact that it's quite you've got quite a number of people from the different ages that have applied. Now, thank you very much for the presentation. Honorable members, let's know the hands of the honorable members who wants to engage the presentation. and then we get the responses from the department. I see the hand of Honorable Aris, and then I see also the hand of Honorable Alexandra Abrams, as well as Honorable Hlongo. In that order, honorable members, over to you, Honorable Aris.
Thank you very much. Good morning, Chair. I'm sorry, I just have connectivity problems, so I won't be able to open up my mic. I just need a question of clarity is that with these candidates that have applied, us with these practitioners that are some of them currently also assessment doctors for SASA? That's what I want to find out, that have applied to serve on this tribunal. And then also, Chairperson, there's another concern that I would also like to raise, because in one of a few of my oversight visits at clinics, the Department of Health or the clinics have indicated they have a challenge in terms of accommodating these assessment doctors, as they have very limited space. So I want to find out from the department and SASA, what is the plans, in terms of assessment doctors? Will they remain at the clinics, or what is the alternative plans? And then I would also like the department to, we will appoint this tribunal to address the appeals of applicants. But however, there's a shortage in many of the regions in terms of assessment doctors, and how will they address that? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Aris, for your input and comment. It's appreciated. Let's move to the next honorable member, Honorable Abrams.
Thank you, Acting Chairperson, and good morning to all the colleagues on the platform. Chairperson, I would just like to find out, so in order to establish whether, the candidates are fit and proper, has it been requested, and have the candidates applied, clearance or good standing certificates, from the Legal Practice Council, or either, declare under oath that they aren't facing any misconduct complaints? And of course, similarly with the health, the medical doctors, if they've also submitted certificates of good standing and are not facing any, misconduct complaints. And then also, if the ADG can maybe just briefly explain what informed the ranking of the candidates when it came to the interview process, the ranking of candidates, if it was just based on those 5 requirements. Because if it is, and if I look at the PDF of the candidates that was sent to us, and if I just go to it quickly, candidate 6 and candidate 16 does not have more than 5 years experience based on that PDF, yet they have been recommended for the position, for the panel. And candidate 14, there's no experience recorded next to the name. So if we can just get clarity on, why those candidates have been put forward, if 2 of them have less than 5 years experience, and on the information given to us, there's no experience recorded next to candidate 14. Then something just slightly outside of the actual candidates. Is there a budget for the tribunal, and what is that budget? And, we always speak about, remuneration of these members, and, we try to avoid it, being excessive and so forth. And I'd just like to find out, has the department set any limits on when it comes to airfare tickets, for example, only economy class airfare tickets, and when it comes to accommodation, no 5- and 4-star hotels? So, because obviously, there's a set budget, and I just would like to know if those limitations are in writing somewhere. Thank you, Acting Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Honorable Abrams, for your input as well. It's quite appreciated. Let's move to the next honorable member will be Honorable Hlongo, and then Honorable Paulnit Marias.
Thank you very much, Chair. Chairperson, looking at the provinces that did not apply at all, or a few applied and were not considered, is concerning. Did the department extend the closing date of applications? If not, why? Why not, considering that in some provinces no one applied at all? Thanks.
Thank you very much, Honorable Hlongo, for your input as well. It's appreciated. Let's move to Honorable Marais. Over to you.
Thank you. Acting Chair. Chair, I just want to find out from you is that, from the department, is that, we see that there's 92,000 grants were rejected. Huh? I just want to know, because we get a lot of complaints from community members saying that these doctors make very, very, very difficult for them to apply. Nah? And then you will get a young person that is not even sick, that is getting these grants because they were approved by these doctors. And then we hear that you can appeal, on that application. Who's explaining to these people what procedure must you take for the appealing of these cases? And how do a person appeal that can't write and read? That doesn't, it's coming from the rural area, that doesn't even know how to write and read. How do they go for this approval process? How to go for these processes? So I'm just worried about, we have a shortage of these doctors. Like you're saying, sometimes we'll get it at the SASSA office, that the doctor sitting there in one room, there's no really privacy for the patients. The doctor just hear what you're saying. And then you've been either approved or rejected. What is the mechanism that they are using for a person to apply for this grant? And what is the reason for the rejection of these grants? I just want to understand it, because a lot of people are very unhappy, especially old people that really can't do anything anymore, but they are still being saying that they're not approved for these grants. I just wanted to know about that. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Honorable Paul Nita, for your input as well, and questions that you posed to the department. I see the hands. I'm not sure whether it's legacy hands from Honorable Aris, Honorable Abrams. Do you want to come in again?
Apology, Chair. I would like to just come in again, please, if I may.
Okay, no, proceed, and then we go to Honorable Aris.
Okay, so the department said there were over 92,000 grants that were rejected. If they can maybe just give us an understanding, what is the typical reasons why they were rejected, or, why they were rejected? And then what, if any, should be reviewed to accommodate deserving applicants, but not necessarily qualifying applicants? And then also, has it happened, in the past that this 90-day period has lapsed, and what happens in that event when the tribunal doesn't meet the 90 days? Thank you, Acting Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Honorable Abrams. Your contribution is quite appreciated as well. And I see the hand of Honorable Aris has been removed.
No, thank you, Chairperson. I think Honorable Abrams have covered my question. Thank you.
Okay. Oh, thank you very much, Honorable Aris. Honorable members, from my side, I've got only one issue based on the presentation, which is quite concerning, and I think it has been canvassed by Honorable Hlongo with regard to the provinces that are excluded, or there are people that applied, they did not make the threshold. They did not actually make it in terms of the process. So I just wanted to find out from the department, what is the approach moving forward? Because what has been presented to us, indeed, there are those provinces that are excluded. So it does not send a very good signal, and it's not a good thing, because there are a number of beneficiaries coming from those provinces. And without necessarily getting into the debate of small, big provinces and all of that. But a province like KZN, for an example, the magnitude and the size of the province of KZN, where there's very few applications or consideration from that level. So I would like maybe just to find out from the department what would be the plan from their side to make sure that this tribunal will be inclusive and representative for in terms of all the provinces. Thank you very much. That's from my side. Let's hand over to, because there's no hands here, let's hand over to the acting DG and the team to deal with the responses, then we move forward. Thank you very much.
Thanks very much, Honorable Chair and Honorable members, for the questions that have been put. What I'm going to do, I'm going to first ask Sasa Brenton, if I think he's here, to respond to some of the questions around reasons for rejections, as well as shortages of assessment doctors, etc. Brenton, if you could go first, and then I'll ask Brink and Brenda to come in, and then I'll come in to deal with the other questions. Brenton.
Thanks, DG. Good morning, honourable members, Chairperson, Minister. So just to deal with the few questions that were directed at SASSA. So the assessment doctors, that is a continuous challenge for SASSA. But at the moment, we are able to still, we are able to meet our assessment turnaround times. I think most of our, we've got a 30-day turnaround time on that. So in most areas, we are meeting that. Where we do fall short in a particular province, we do then try to bring in doctors from another province if there's a gap in one particular province for a specific amount of time to help with assessments. And we do try to increase the number of doctors, but just like the Department of Health, doctors are very, very scarce skill. And so attracting this skill is very difficult. The department, however, has published new legislation earlier this year, which we are in the process of implementing, where they're opening it up so that we don't just need to use doctors for assessments, for disability assessments, but also we can use occupational therapists, physiotherapists, and other health practitioners who are qualified to do disability assessments. This will obviously take us a bit of time. We've got to do a lot of training. I don't foresee it 100% solving the problem, because the problem of health practitioner shortage in the country is an ongoing problem. Ideally, SASSA would, or the Department of Social Development would prefer to come to a situation where the Department of Health actually takes responsibility for assessments. This is a health competency. Us employing our own assessment doctors and recruiting both from sometimes from the private sector, also sometimes health doctors, is really just a stopgap measure to try and plug the gap that the provincial departments of health are having in being able to do this. And where necessary as well with assessment sites. Ideally, again, you know, this again is a health competency. If health is saying they have difficulties creating space to do health assessments, SASSA in some offices, as one member mentioned, we do try and then do it in our offices, but our offices are not equipped or ideal for doing health assessments. So ideally, you want this to be done within the clinics, within the hospitals, the district and the community hospitals. And so that is a sort of an ongoing discussion we have with the Department of Health, trying to press them to take more responsibility and engage more in terms of doing these assessments. Because SASSA, we'd rather pay the Department of Health the fee than having to outsource or contract third-party doctors. In terms of, I think I'll leave this to the appeals tribunal, but in terms of how an appeal is filled out in the forms, so SASSA does offer that service. If somebody wants to appeal, they would be notified in their application letter, in their rejection letter, they'll be notified of their right to appeal. Where the application is declined in the office on the day when the person's there, we also when we disengage with the client, we also inform them about their right to appeal, and if they want to, we can also assist them with the filling out of those forms and the sending of those forms to the appeals tribunal. But the appeals tribunal will explain more about the forms. With regards to the reasons for the issue about many people being rejected from the grants, I think the biggest challenge with the disability grant is that it's not necessarily it's a grant that's linked to a disability. And a lot of people that apply for the grant don't necessarily have a disability. So the grant is if you have a disability that impairs you from being able to work. It's not a grant that is if you don't have a job. So sometimes your disability might not be so severe that you are not able to work, but the challenge you have is more that you can't find work. And that's the big problem in South Africa, is that we have such a high unemployment rate. And so a lot of people sometimes they would have a chronic disease like hypertension or diabetes, and then they'd apply for the disability grant. That itself does not qualify you because you don't necessarily have a disability, especially amongst the older people. So we see a lot of people over the age of 55 or so applying for the disability grant because they're just too young. They're not yet 60, so they can't get the old age pension, but they can't also find work, and they may have a few chronic illnesses. And that often, the chronic illnesses is not going to qualify you because you don't have a disability in that sense. Yes, some chronic illnesses, because they assess your activity limitations. When we do an assessment, we assess to what degree does your disability result in you having activity limitations. But in many instances, chronic diseases are not going to then enable you to pass the test, which then comes on to the next member's question is, what do you do about deserving but not qualifying clients? So that's that group that's not going to meet the disability requirements, but they are unemployed and need some form of assistance from government. At the moment, we only have the COVID SRD 350 grant, which is, I think, from about 2 years, 2020 was the first time government tried to plug that gap between those between the ages of 18 to 59, where people can then apply for some form of social assistance, noting though that it's still low. It's 350 Rand. It's not that comparable to a disability grant, which is close to 2,000 Rands. But I'll then pass that one to the department as well to talk about their further plans of taking the COVID SRD grant into a more stable form of income support for unemployed people between the ages of 18 to 59. DG, I think that is all. Sorry, there's just one question. There was an issue raised around fraud, and maybe just to appeal to the member that if there's all members, if they are aware of any fraud, to please report that to SASSA so that we can investigate that further. Thanks, DG.
Thank you very much, Brenton. Let me leave the more sophisticated questions to Brink and Brenda to respond to. I'll come in after that. Brink.
Thank you so much, DG, and thank you so much for the questions. Firstly, in relation to Honourable Iri's question, and I will only respond to the one that Brenton hasn't responded to. Clarity, no, ma'am, you are 100% correct that we actually do not appoint, we could not appoint any person that's currently busy with SASSA assessments, because that would be a conflict of interest. There is, however, people that indicated, let's say, that in 2017 or 2019, they did perform that previously, as in the past they were district surgeons. And in that regard, those people would have been eligible because they would have the experience and exposure. However, they're currently active in any medical impairment assessments by SASSA or within the as district surgeons, etc., they were not eligible for appointment.
We've lost sound.
Yes, it looks like there's a technical problem here. Acting DG.
Sorry, sir, it seems that there was a gremlin in the sound. SASSA already spoke about the response to the oversight visits and the assessments, and I know that SASSA is, even in some of the provinces, looking for, they actually have appointed contracted doctors, and that is something that in the Department of Health, because that is the challenge that we have, is ultimately, even when we do second medical referrals that DG previously indicated to, we are unfortunately have to make use of the public health system because there's not, we can't refer them to the medical in the private sector. And that is something that I know SASSA is working hard on. If I can go to Abram, Honourable, the other questions in relating to the vetting, I firstly want to sincerely apologise, ma'am, because I think firstly the oversight in relation to number 14 is actually on the year, he actually has 30 years of experience, that's a total oversight. And then just to put it into context, in terms of the regulations, if you look at regulation 6, the criteria for appointment of legal practitioners, the first criteria is that the legal practitioner must be a person at least 5 years post-admission experience in the administration or in the practice of law. However, sub-regulation 6.2 make provision that notwithstanding the provisions of regulation 1, a person may be appointed as a legal practitioner of the tribunal, provided that that person has at least 5 years postgraduate experience in the administration of law and then meets all the other requirements. So in relation to number 6, where that 4 years is representing the post-admission experience in terms of the regulation 6.1, but if you look at the regulation 6.2 and his CV, this person actually already started in Gauteng department of where he actually already experienced administration of law experience within the legal services. So that's why then it will amount to 6 years. So what is contained in here is actually the post-admission experience, not taking into account that 6.2 make provision for the postgraduate experience. And the same will apply to number 16 in Eastern Cape. There we really had a challenge because we only received 2 applications. And initially, this person was not recommended, but then when we went back to the CV and we also looked at this not the post-admission experience, but specifically the postgraduate experience, he actually also, from 2017, he has experience in relation to postgraduate experience in the administration of law. So that is in relation to those 2. We can actually provide that to you. The next question, I'm just trying to see what the following questions was. The remuneration, just the remuneration is already prescribed. Firstly, I think it's important to note that these people are not appointed as full-time contractors or employees to government, because then it means that they will lose their independence and impartiality. So they are appointed on an ad hoc basis as and when the numbers of appeals are sufficient, for instance, to be scheduled for adjudication. The tariffs are prescribed in terms of National Treasury, which have remuneration levels for service benefit packages for office bearers of certain statutory or other institutions. And since I think the last update of that amount was in 2018-19, there hasn't been any update or increase since then. And we've got specific norms and standards that we've developed over the past 10 years to ensure that we get, I want to say, value for our buck, in order to say that they need to do the prescribed amount of appeals adjudication that we schedule for them per day. And there's also, in relation to the question raised about the follow-up question from Honourable Abrams in relation to the flights and etc. about, and I think this is also where at this stage it assists that the people are actually currently within Gauteng. We only fly people up for the training and the capacity building process that we do at the beginning of the investments, and then every 6 months we also do a capacity feedback, but we've done now, so COVID has learned that we can do that even virtually. So they do not come to Pretoria to actually adjudicate the appeal matters. We courier the files to them, and then we make provision for a specific time period in which the files need to be couriered back in order to ensure that we still remain within the 90 days. As DG indicated, there is provision made for within the Act to allow for where we need additional information, either from the appellant, for instance, bank statements that's updated for that time period, or additional medical assessments that we can refer them in terms of the regulations. And for that purpose, the Act allows us then to go outside the 90 days. The specific thing is, ma'am, when we do not adjudicate it within the 90 days, it opens up a litigation risk. You would have recalled way back in 2012, we incurred litigation cost of over 17 to 20 million rand per year. We are currently there, we do not have any litigation costs specifically in relation to this, and this is something that we want to avoid. That's why we want to press on the urgency that we actually appoint and extend, especially with these additional appeals that we get in, the influx that we timelessly appoint additional members to assist. DG, I think that was more or less all the questions, unless I missed something.
Let me just correct something, honorable members, from what Advocate Brink said, that it's preferable for people in Gauteng to be on the panel. It's not correct. That's not how we work. That's not how we operate. It's wrong. I want to correct that. The law is not explicit in terms of provincial representation, but it's best practice that we have provincial representation. I just want to correct that. It's not preferable that we have people from Gauteng only, Honorable Chair. Now, the other sort of issue I wanted to highlight is one of the members asked about whether the various applicants have been processed through various institutions to ensure that they are members in good standing. I do want to confirm, Honorable Chair, that we have gone through the Health Professions Council of South Africa for the medical practitioners, and we have gone through, I can't remember the other council, but we have the Law Society of South Africa, and the Legal Practice Council. We have gone through those councils to ensure that the people are in good standing and do not have any specific misconduct cases against them. I also want to indicate that on the travel matters, we do apply cost containment measures, which are prescribed by the Treasury, and ensure that we try and keep all. I don't think you have the budget with you now, because there was a question around the budget. But I think, we find a way to respond to that. If we have, I don't know if you can open the books now. If not, we can just indicate what is the allocation. Fanny, you may be able to help us with that. But we do apply cost containment measures to ensure that that everybody is able to do their work in the most cost-effective way. So they won't fly business class, for example. Neither will they stay in five-star hotels, that's for sure. I also wanted to indicate on the provincial representation. So what we do is put out the public adverts and make the call for people across provinces to apply. And it's a public participation process. We are concerned that about 3 or 4 provinces, some people who did apply in those provinces didn't make it. In some cases, particularly for the, I think it was the, let me just check, for the medical practitioners, very little provinces did apply. Northern Cape and Limpopo did apply for the legal practitioners, but the medical practitioners is what we are more worried about in terms of Limpopo, Mpumalanga, Northern Cape, and Northwest. But I think that what we need to do, and notwithstanding the fact that we have actually gone through organizations responsible for persons with disabilities, in the case of persons with disabilities, across the board, I think that what we would probably need to do for the next round, when we start moving to the next sort of council, because this is a 3-year appointment, and in between, we would likely to find people who may fall out for various reasons. I think we should approach law societies and medical councils in respective provinces going forward, so that we actually get specifics from them. It's a competitive process. It's an open process. So we are not saying apply, you will get the job. No, we're saying apply, compete, go to the recruitment process, And if you're found to be in good standing and meet the criteria accordingly, you will then be considered accordingly. So I think we would do that moving forward, Honorable Chair, so that we solicit those inputs from the respective provinces, particularly the smaller provinces. Let me, yeah, there was a bit of an oversight, and we're happy to share the documents on that. Of course, I think we've cleared it. I've asked for copies of the documents myself to verify, and I think we're fine with that. So that oversight we apologize for. A gremlin in the system, I want to believe, may have caused that error, but we can guarantee you that the system is speak and span, and the process has been followed accordingly to the T. I think we've responded to all questions, Honorable Chair, and I think SASA has also responded to the questions on that yet. So thank you, Honorable Chair. Thank you very much. Let me hand over back to you.
Thank you very much, honorable members. Thank you very much for the team, Acting DG, for the responses. It's quite appreciated, and I see it looks like all of us who are covered now will be moving to the next item. Lindy, can you take us through the next item? Hi, Lindy.
Sorry. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Acting Chair. Can I try to provide advice regarding the matter under discussion? Now that the department brought the matter before both houses for consideration and also to concur with the names, the committee needs to take a decision or to deliberate on the matter so that a report be adopted by both houses for resolution in the House, and then it will be ATC'd. So can I get, Chair, I was trying to solicit around that, whether the matter would leave as is, now that there isn't any decision, whether the committee concur, the joint committee concur with the names as is, or there are any other issues they want to add. If not, we've prepared a draft small report for consideration adoption by the committee. So I just wanted to provide that advice, Chair. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Lindy, for the advice. Honorable members, the department is presented, we posed questions, they clarified us. So procedurally, what the committee secretary is advising us, we need to now adopt the report. We cannot just leave it hanging. So there must be a mover of adoption of the report. Of course, maybe with the minor changes that the honorable members have proposed. So can we get a mover and a seconder? And then so we dispose of this item and move to the next item. Over to you, honorable members. I see the hand, honorable. Oh,
Chair,
okay.
Maybe can I just flight the report to see?
Okay.
So that we can just talk on basis something that we've seen. Yoli, do you have the report next to you? I'm struggling with. I'll
open it. I don't think it was open.
Can you please flight it for
Okay.
us? And then so that the NCOP can also adopt theirs. Thank you.
Okay. Well, I didn't have it open. Okay. Yeah, I will flight it now. Ooh. Can you see it, members? Is it on the screen, Cecilia? Oh, okay. You can then speak through it then. You are muted. Cecilia, you are muted. You can speak through the report, but you are muted now.
Okay, thank you very much. Sorry for the delay. Chair and members, now that there were no objections or any other issues regarding the names that were presented, I wish to put before you this report for your consideration and adoption so that it can be ATC and the minister can be able to appoint the names. The report reads as follows: report of the Portfolio Committee on Social Development, hereinafter referred as the committee on the list of recommended candidates to serve on the Independent Tribunal for Social Assistance Appeals dated 30 November 2022, having considered the referral by the Speaker of the National Assembly of this letter and its and list of recommended candidates to fill vacancies in the Independent Tribunal for Social Assistance Appeal in terms of the Social Assistance Act number 13 of 2004, dated 4 November 2022. The Portfolio Committee on Social Development reports as follows. The Department of Social Development briefed the committee on the recommended candidates to serve on the Independent Tribunal for Social Assistance Appeals. This is in accordance to Section 18 of the Social Assistance Act 2004 as amended, which states the minister must, after consultation with Parliament, appoint an independent tribunal comprised of appropriately qualified persons as may be prescribed to serve as members of the Independent Tribunal to consider appeals against decisions of the agency. The Portfolio Committee on Social Development, having deliberated on and considered the subject of the list of recommended candidates to serve on the Independent Tribunal for Assistance Appeals, reports that it agrees to the recommended list of candidates to serve on the Independent Tribunal for Social Assistance Appeals as follows. We will list the names as presented by the department. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you very much, Lindiwe, for the presentation of the report. Honorable members, there's the report. Can we get a mover and seconder for the adoption of the report? Over to you, honorable members. I don't see hands. Can we note hands, honorable members? I see the hand of Honorable Hlongo. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Chair. I move for the adoption of the report of candidates to serve in the Independent Tribunal for Social Assistance Appeal as recommended, of course, considering the concerns that were raised by honorable members, especially those of provinces that were left out. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you very much, Honorable Hlongo. Honorable Hlongo moves for the adoption. I see the hand of Honorable Bilankulu. Over to you, Honorable Bilankulu.
Thank you, Chair. I second the move by Honorable Hlongo. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Bilankulu. Honorable members, the report has been duly adopted by the Portfolio Committee. And then we move to the next item. Thank you very much. We are done with the first item. Let's proceed now.
Chairperson,
Chair?
I must do the select committee reports though.
Oh, okay, okay. No, I'm sorry, Honorable Gillian. Can we also do the same process of the adoption in the NCOP comrades, NCOP honorable members? Sorry, I'm sorry for that. Thanks.
Okay, Chairperson, I will do the report. If they can flight the select committee, I will read it. Marcel?
Tabile, I gave you the sharing rights, you see. I can't find myself. Do you mind to share the report from your side?
Thank you. The report of the Select Committee on Health and Social Services, herein after referred to as the committee on the list of recommended candidates to serve on the Independent Tribunal for Social Assistance Appeals dated 30 November 22. Having considered the referral by the Speaker of the National Assembly of the letter and list of recommended candidates to fill vacancies in the Independent Tribunal for Social Assistance Appeal. In terms of the Social Assistance Act number 13 of 2004, dated 4th November 2022, the Select Committee reports as follows. The Department of Social Development briefed the committee on the recommended candidates to serve on the Independent Tribunal for Social Assistance Appeals. This is in accordance to Section 18 of the Social Assistance Act 2004 as amended, which states, the minister must, after consultation with Parliament, appoint an independent tribunal comprised of appropriately qualified persons, as may be prescribed, to serve as members of the independent tribunal to consider appeals against decisions of the agency. The Select Committee on Health and Social Services, having deliberated on and considered the subject of the list of recommended candidates to serve on the Independent Tribunal for Social Assistance Appeals, reports that it agrees to the recommended list of candidates to serve on the Independent Tribunal for Social Assistance Appeal. Report to be considered. Members of the Select Committee, I need a mover for the adoption of the report. I don't see any hands. Members of the Select Committee. I see Member Dongeni. You can continue, Member Dongeni.
Thank you, Chair. Morning, members. I support that the report be adopted.
Thank you, Member Dongeni. I see Member Nkosi. No, sorry. Yes, Member Nkosi, you can continue.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. I support Member Ndongeni.
Thank you, members. So the report has been officially adopted. Thank you, Chairperson. You can move on with your meeting.
Thank you very much, Honorable Gillian. And thank you very much, Honorable members. The report has been duly adopted in both houses, the National Assembly as well as the NCOP. So, Lindy, I think procedurally we are now moving to the next item. Can I hand over to you so that you present the item and then we take it from there? Over to you, Lindy.
Okay, thank you very much, Chair.
Before that, Chairperson, if you allow me, just to thank you for your leadership in this meeting. The members of the Select Committee can exit your meeting, but before that, from our side, let us also thank the department for the presentation this morning and also convey our sincere condolences to the chairperson of the Portfolio Committee. Our prayers are with her in this tragedy that she experienced in her family. And also from our side, thank you very much for the working relationship that exists between the Portfolio Committee and the Select Committee. Thank you. Our members can now leave the meeting.
Thank you very much, Honorable Gillian, for the nice words of encouragement and the working relationship. We really appreciate, also from our side, we really appreciate the working relationship between ourselves and the National Council of Provinces Select Committee. Thank you very much, comrades, honorable members. Those that from the NCOP, they've been now officially released from the meeting. Can I hand over to you, Lindy, for the presentation of the second item? Then we take it from there. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Chair. It's not just present. I'll just try to provide the ground rule provide a refer to the Constitution on the matter that is before us. Parliament consists of two houses, which is the National Assembly, as well as the National Council of Provinces, which confer powers to them to pass legislation, to reject, to exercise oversight to the executive, and also to reject and public participation processes. Now, the bill that the discussion matter that is before us is around a bill that was introduced in the NA, which was 76.1, which is where the bill is introduced and referred as an NA. This is a section 76 bill, which is affects provinces, and then the provinces need to also comment on the bill. So the National Assembly, and we had an extensive public participation process where we went to 9 provinces to solicit inputs on the Children's Amendment Bill. And then we went to the formal stage, and then we passed the bill. And then we had a B version of the Children's Amendment Bill, B18B. So after that, after the National Assembly has completed its process, it goes to the National Council of Provinces, where the same bill will go to all the 9 legislatures, and then the select committee would coordinate the negotiating mandate and then the final mandates for various provinces. The National Council of Provinces also have the same powers as the National Assembly to pass legislation, to amend it, to reject it, to exercise oversight over executive, also to ensure public participation in all the decisions, especially the legislation. So in this process of processing the Children's Amendment Bill, the NCOP proposed technical amendments. I'll try to reference to the Constitution, Section 76 C, where it said that when the National Assembly passes a bill referred to it, the bill must be referred to the NCOP and deal with accordance with the following procedure. C says that if the council rejects the bill, or if the assembly, if the council passes an amendment bill, the amended bill must be referred back to the assembly. And if the assembly passes the amended bill, it must be submitted to the president for assent. Now, the NCOP had a C version of the bill, which were the amendments. In our case, we had an A list. The NCOP had a C list, the amendment, the 3 amendments they proposed, and then the D version, which affected the amendments. Now Parliament has Children's Amendment Bill with 2 versions. We have a B version from the NA, we have a D version from the NCOP. The president cannot assent 2 versions of a bill in one parliament. That's why the amendments that were proposed by the NCOP must come back to this committee for concurrence, so that we know Parliament has passed one bill, the D version. So we are in that process now, where the legal advisor will flight to show the NA what were the proposed amendments by the NCOP, so that the NA can concur, and then we go to the House, and then we know that the president will sign the D version. Thank you very much. So that is the background or the explanation I would like to provide to the members. This is not the first time in any committee of parliament this happens. So we normally get cases of this nature whereby the NCOP make additional amendments to a bill that comes from the National Assembly. So that is the process I wanted to outline, Chairperson. And then and also the legal advisor to flight if the committee allows, or and there are no questions, to flight the C version, so that we know, and thereafter there's a short report to that effect that needs to be ATC for the House. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Lindy, for just to remind us in terms of the process that was followed with regard to the Children's Amendment Bill. It's appreciated, and then at least it's an opportunity for all of us honorable members just to refresh our memory in terms of the road that we have traveled and then where we are, and then the reason why the bill is back to us again as the portfolio committee. Thank you very much for that. Can we now hand over to the legal advisors to flight their presentation before us so that we can zoom into the areas of the technical amendments? Because my understanding, and then based on what Lindy was presenting to us, is that we are not starting the process from afresh. The bill, we dealt with it, we adopted it in the NA, it went to the National Council of Provinces. So it's back again to the National Assembly. So today we are considering the technical amendments that were done by the NCOP, and then we adopt the bill formally as the portfolio committee, and then ATC it for presenting it to the House. I think that's my understanding based on your explanation, Lindiwe. It's appreciated. Honorable members, can we get the legal people to share the presentation? Then they take us to the presentation. Okay. Thank you very much.
Chair.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. I am having problems with my audio, so please indicate if everyone can hear me.
No, we can hear you. We can hear you, Ms. Naidu.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, my name is Lisa Naidu. I'm from the Office of the Chief State Law Advisor. My colleague Natim Njena is not available today because he has another meeting going on. I have agreed to assist the committee in regard to the C list. As Lindy explained, the C list is arising from Section 76 of the Constitution, whereby the National Council of Provinces had made amendments to the bill that was forwarded to them. And as indicated, these amendments are more or less technical. They don't change the provisions in any substantial matter. Chair of the Select Committee on Health and Social Services, amendments to the Children's Amendment Bill are as follows. Number 1, on page 6 in line 7, after age, to omit or less and substitute or less. This was a typographical error in the previous version of the bill, and or less had to be underlined to indicate to the typist that this will be an insertion in the bill. The second one is the amendment to clause 14. Once again, this is a typo. It was an error. We had indicate provision when it should have been reflected as provisions. On page 7 in line 5, to omit provision and substitute provisions, the plural. Second, clause 14 was also on page 7 in line 5. We omitted, or rather we forgot to put in a comma. So now on page 7 in line 5, after subsection 1, we insert the comma. Chairperson, I'm not sure if the committee members would like to see the D-bill and the actual amendments on page 6 and 7.
Ms. Naidu, proceed.
Sorry, Chair, with the D-bill.
Yes, please proceed with the D-bill.
Okay.
Colleagues, can you please flight the D-bill for
Okay, I will flight it now, Cecilia. Just 1 minute.
Thank you. Lindy, I think we can start on page 6. If the committee agrees.
Yes, you can proceed, Ms. Naidu.
Because the amendments are specific to page 6. Chair, on page 6, amendment is of amendment of section 47(8) of 2005, and in line 7, it starts with 3. A in brackets very young close bracket child who underlined is 3 years of age or less. Chair, we forgot in the previous version to underline or less, and we're correcting that now. So now is 3 years of age or less is underlined. We can move to clause 14. That's on page 7. Thank you, Lindy. Clause 14 on page 7 in line 5, it starts with the underlining. In brackets 1A, despite the provisions. Previously, we had it as despite the provision. And now we've corrected that in the plural form, despite the provisions of subsection 1. Before we omitted the comma, now we are inserting the comma. Thank you, Chair. Those were the amendments that were agreed to at the Select Committee.
Thank you very much, our State Law Advisor, Ms. Naidu, for the presentation, just indicating to us which areas of the technical amendments. So at least now, honorable members have actually noted and seen the areas where the NCOP have actually amended, or those technical amendments, the commas, the grammars, and all of that. So honorable members, that's the presentation. Can I note the hands of honorable members who wants to maybe move for the adoption of the report, or honorable members who wants to comment, make inputs before we move for the adoption? I see the hand of Honorable Abrams. Over to you, Honorable Abrams.
Thank you, Acting Chair. And I realize it's, we maybe should have asked the Select Committee to maybe, just give us an overview of what really transpired when they were working through the C list, because, we've heard that only 2 provinces made substantive amendments, yet that wasn't taken into consideration. So, my question to Ms. Naidu is then, were these technical amendments, inclusive of all 9 provinces, or which were the provinces that actually did make amendments? And, why weren't those substantive amendments from those 2 provinces not included? If Ms. Naidu has the answers to that. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Honorable Abrams, for your question. I saw the hand of Honorable Aris, but it has since been put down the hand. I'm not sure, Honorable Aris, do you want to come in, or you have been covered by Honorable Abrams?
No, we'll come in later.
Okay, thank you very much. Honorable members, there's only one question, a clarity-seeking question from Honorable Abrams. Can I hand over to Ms. Naidu just to clarify it, then we move forward. Over to you, Ms. Naidu.
Thank you, Chair. With regard to the Select Committee meetings, all 9 provinces did provide their mandates regarding the bill, and they did vote to adopt it at the last meeting. Unfortunately, I had technical challenges, so I couldn't log into the entire meeting, but it was adopted, therefore, hence it came back to the Portfolio Committee. I was there for the meetings that when it came to the comments, the public consultation, and it was amazing because it was within that time space that each province had detailed their consultation processes, and it was, in my view, a very meaningful engagement. Each province took it upon themselves and they had done the reports on it. And what had transpired from, in my view, from those consultation notes was similar to what had happened at this committee during the same phase, where we also mentioned to the committee, because we had to inform them, that the initial introduction of the bill is not the same bill that they were seeing before them. Because of the foster care court order, the decision was taken to take only the foster care clauses and keep the remainder of the clauses in abeyance to be drafted as a committee bill. And I stand to be corrected, but I do recall, and this was the advice we had given, where we indicated together, myself and the parliamentary advisor, that all the comments regarding matters that were not related specifically to the foster care clauses, but the remainder of the bill, will not be discarded, because the committee bill is still going to be drafted. It's still going to be published again for public comment in terms of the rules of parliament. But those comments are going to be used to further enhance or further better that bill that we left in abeyance. I hope that gives sort of clarity, and I hope I answered the question. But based on my knowledge and my attendance of the meetings, that is what had transpired, because the provinces had really gone into detail when it came to consultation. Sorry, thank you, Chair. Finished.
Oh, thank you very much, Ms. Naidu, for your clarity. I think you were quite elaborate and detailed with regard to the process, and then what actually transpired in the NCOP with regard to processing this bill in the NCOP, and then why it has been referred back to us. I think it's, I see the hand of Lindiwe. Lindiwe, do you want to come in just to advise us in terms of the way forward?
Okay. Chair, yes, Chair. I want to provide a procedure going forward. We gonna put, Chair, we must put the D version before the committee for adoption, and then thereafter there is a report for also adoption, consideration adoption, Chair. So we will firstly adopt the D version as is from NCOP to concur with it, and then thereafter we adopt the report for ATC. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, Lindiwe, for the advice. It's appreciated. Honorable members, that's where we are. There was only one question clarity seeking question from Honorable Abrams. That clarity seeking question has since been clarified by Ms. Naidu, the state law advisor. So procedurally, in terms of the process where we need to go now, we are supposed to put the presentation on the D version of the bill as it comes from the NCOP. And then once we have adopted that D version, and then we proceed to the report, which will be ATC, and then which will be presented, tabled in the National Assembly. So Lindy, can we proceed in that order? Can we put the D version on the screen for honorable members to be able to see for themselves as well? And then you take us through, who's going to take us through, the legal advisor or yourself? I'm not sure. And then we take it from there.
Chair, the legal advisor already took the committee through the amendments on the D version. Her second presentation, she was presenting the D version to show you where the amendments are in the D version, Chair. Otherwise, the other contents are the same as the B version.
Okay. I thought I heard you saying that we are supposed to put the D version for consideration. So we already dealt with that. The state law advisor took us through the presentation. She also indicated the areas where there were technical amendments that are coming from the NCOP that we have also seen for ourselves. So I think we are done with the two presentations now. Can I put now the D version for adoption before the committee? Honorable members, we put now the D version as it comes from the NCOP before the committee for its adoption. Can we note hands, honorable members? I can't see from my gadget here which hands are up.
Vanna's hand is up, Chair.
Okay, I can see the hand of Honorable Mvana. Over to you, Chairperson.
Yeah, Chairperson, out of all the deliberations and also explanation, I want to move for the adoption of these amendments as they were put in front of us.
Okay, no, thank you very much, Honorable Hannah. I see the hands now.
Chair, Acting Chair, I think the chairperson only votes when there is a tie. So can any other member propose, move for the adoption?
Yo, sorry, since I'm not chairing, I thought I have got a choice to vote. I'm sorry, excuse me, Chairperson, for that. Okay.
Okay, no, it's understandable, Honorable Chairperson. I see the hands of Honorable Hlongo, Honorable Abrams, Honorable Aris, and then Honorable Fred. Can we give over to Honorable Hlongo for the
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Considering that all 9 provinces contributed through the consultations for comments, I therefore move for the adoption of the bill with the amendments. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Honorable Hlongo. Moves for the adoption of the D version of the bill with those technical amendments coming from the NCOP. Honorable members, I see there's a hand of Honorable Abrams. Over to you, Honorable Abrams.
Thank you, Acting Chairperson. Chairperson, for record purposes, can it please be noted that the Democratic Alliance objects to the D version of the Children's Amendment Bill? The objection points have largely been covered in previous minutes and have largely been covered in the minority report on this issue. So if the record can please just note our objection with reference to those minutes and the minority report. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honorable Abrams. We note the objection of the DA, with, in particular with regards to the D version. So it will be noted and it will reflect in the report as well, the objection. Can we give over to Honorable Aris, and then Honorable Briet will be the last honorable member. Honorable Aris.
Thank you, Chairperson. Please note the objection of the EFF also on this diversion. Thank you.
Okay, Honorable Aris, we note the objection as well of the EFF. It will be noted and captured in the report.
Sorry, Chairperson.
Over to you, Honorable Briet.
Sorry, I was a bit quick on you there. I apologize. No, Chairperson, please also just note the objection of the FF Plus.
Okay, no, thank you very much. We've got objections from 3 political parties, the Democratic Alliance, the EFF, as well as the Freedom Front Plus. They will be noted as such. Honorable members, can we get, there is a mover for the adoption of the report. Can we get a seconder which seconds the adoption of the report?
Chair.
Yes.
I second the adoption of the report. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Honorable Bilankulu seconds the proposal for the adoption of the report of the D version as it comes from the NCOP with those technical amendments. Thank you very much. Honorable members, the report, the bill has been duly adopted by the committee. Can we move now, Lindiwe, to the next report? The committee report, yes. Thank you very much, Lindiwe. Can you take us through the report, Lindy? Lindiwe?
Sorry, sorry, I've been reading to myself. Sorry, Chair and members.
Oh, sorry.
Committee report, report of the Portfolio Committee on Social Development on the Children's Amendment Bill, B18D, dated today. The Portfolio Committee on Social Development, having considered the proposed amendments by the NCOP to the Children's Amendment Bill, B18D 2020, referred to it on 22 November 2020, CATC 22 November, reports that it agrees to the amendments. in the minutes, we'll capture the objections by the member who indicated that they object the D version of the bill. Thank you very much. Chair.
Thank you very much, Lindy, for the presentation on the committee report with regards to the bill which is in front of us, or the Children's Amendment Bill. Honorable members, I table the committee report in front of the Portfolio Committee. It's all in your hands. Can we get a mover? Can we get comments from members, inputs? And all of it?
Apologies, Chairperson, can we flight the report again? I missed it. It was too quick for me.
Oh, okay. Lindy, can you flight again the report?
So Chairperson, is it just that one paragraph?
And Lindy, where?
Because now I don't see our objections.
No, I think Lindy indicated that this is the committee report, but the objections of the DA, the EFF, as well as the Freedom Front Plus will be captured in the final report, because they are still supposed to go and record it properly to capture the objections of the three political parties that objected to the Children's Amendment Bill. So I understand it. Or Lindy, we can come in
okay.
and
another thing, I don't know, the last time we in our initial report, we didn't, there was a suggestion from Member Masango not to mention each party, and then we can just say the minority parties objected to the D version of the bill. So I don't know if we can capture like that, or do you want me to capture as the party?
Honorable Abrams.
Okay.
Chairperson, if the committee secretary and the acting chair allows, can I also just submit some objections in writing? Because I've just gotten some feedback based on my question that I asked the legal advisor. And, it's come back that there were 5 provinces who proposed amendments to certain clauses that was not included in the drafters. And, even KZN also wanted, some amendments. So I've got all those information here, and I would like it to be recorded, because the response I got from Advocate Naidu, it doesn't speak to any of these provinces that actually called for amendments, but it wasn't included in the C list. So I'd just like your direction on how I handle this, because I will then be submitting it in writing.
Thank you very much, Honorable Abrams. Lindy, do you want to say something before we proceed?
I'll consult the legal people around that were present, and then also my manager. The process whereby there are objections in this nature, and revert back to the committee via WhatsApp.
Okay. No, thank you very much, Lindy, for the clarity. Honorable members, I put before you the report of the Portfolio Committee on Social Development on the Children's Amendment Bill, the D version, the date. I'm sure it will be inserted by the committee secretariat at the later stage, as well as the objections, like the committee secretary was indicating, that instead of the report saying this political party has actually objected towards the adoption of the bill, it should be captured in the minority report as minority political parties have actually, 3 minority political parties have actually objected towards the objection of the report. So I think those issues will be captured later on by the committee secretariat. And then can I now put the report officially, formally in front of the committee for its adoption? And then we proceed, honorable members. Can we get the mover and seconder for the adoption?
Thank you, Chair. My hand is up. It's Honorable Shongo. I move for the adoption of the committee report of the D version of the amendment bill. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Honorable Flongo moves for the adoption of the D version report for the amendments, the committee report to be adopted. Thank you very much for that, Honorable Flongo. I see the end of Honorable Bilankulu.
Thank you, Chair. I second the move by Honorable Flongo of the adoption of the D version B18D 2020. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Honorable Bilankulu. Seconds the adoption, the proposal to adopt the D version from the NCOP with those amendments. Thank you very much, honorable members. The committee report, the D version from the NCOP, they've been duly adopted by the committee. Lindy, where can I give over to you so that you can actually guide us in terms of what is the procedure moving forward? Are we dealing with the next item? What is it? So that we move.
Yeah, Chair, the next item is to adopt the report on petition on Tembisa residents, and then 3 sets of minutes, because the petition was formally referred by the speaker to this committee for consideration and reporting. We've considered and then engaged with the petitioner. So we are required to consider and adopt a report and report back to the speaker on our engagements. So we've got that report that was circulated to members.
Okay. No, thank you very much, Lindy. Just to give us an idea, what is the next item? So who's going to lead us with this item? Is it the department or is it the Parliament legal advisors? Who's going to lead us on this item?
Lead on this item, Chair. It's a committee report on the petition.
Oh, okay. No, it's fine. Can you proceed, Lindy?
Okay, let me check the report. Yoli, do you have the report next to you, or just send me? I can't find it, Chair. Please, Sissy.
Okay.
Can you see it? I've flattered it. You can proceed.
Yes, we can see it. Yoli.
Okay, Susan, you can proceed. Susan, you
I think Lindy is muted again.
Okay.
Yoli?
All right. I will
Sorry.
Oh,
Sorry,
Oh,
Madam. I'm overwhelmed today. There are so many critical issues to be considered by this committee today, and it's the last day for the year. Sorry, I'm sorry, members, for the confusion. As the members of the public are allowed to speak to Parliament on issues affecting them through petitions, and where they can speak to any member of Parliament and submit their concerns so that the matter can come before a committee. This petition was a member of the public from Tembisa gave the petition to member Masango for Parliament to be considered and by Parliament. There is an introduction. The introduction also outline the date of the referral of this petition, which was 11 October 2021. And then also Mama Masango, where he submitted the petition on behalf of the petitioner. And then the second paragraph, Yoli, can you move a little bit up, Sisi? The second paragraph also make reference to the Constitution on how the petition must be processed. And also it also quote a number of rules and then the chapters in the National Assembly rules. I'll just try to read from a last paragraph where it stated on the 14th of September, this committee received a presentation from petitioner, Sis Nombulelo. In addition to that, we also received a presentation from SASSA responding to the issues raised by the petitioner. And then thereafter, we engaged on both information from the petitioner and as well as from SASSA to make a decision on that. The presentation of the petitioner, where Mama Masango also informed the committee that the Tembisa community invited her to visit SASSA offices in the area, where the committee expressed their concern on the state of building, and there were about over 200 petitions received. And then she submitted it to Parliament on their behalf. And also, Nombulelo, which is Mrs. Nombulelo Dubula, which is a petitioner who was also presenting the submission on behalf of the 2,000 petitioners. And also the main issue on the petition was the poor condition of SASSA offices in Tembisa, which the buildings were not conducive for rendering services to such large areas as Tembisa. And then she's also expressed her fears that this could lead to a spread of COVID-19 virus. Also mentioned that there was overcrowding. They were overcrowding in a cramped space and lack of adherence to social distance. She also further reported that the building was due for an upgrade, but 6 years later, no upgrade had happened. She had previously noted that the DA member raised questions to Gauteng legislature regarding the buildings. They were informed that they were national competency. So the resident needed functional SASSA offices in the area. Chair and members, there was a presentation from the CEO of SASSA, Sis Memela Kambule, the CEO, who also gave some response, who informed the committee that the procurement of SASSA offices was guided by the SASSA immovable properties management policy, which stated that procurement of property could only be state-owned property, and if privately owned, then through the Department of Public Works and Infrastructure. And also SASSA experienced higher irregular expenditure due to expired leases and lengthy Department of Public Works and Infrastructure procurement processes. Also, she gave a number of the leases, which were 42, and then 27 out of 42 are direct leases between SASSA and private landlords, and then 15 are leases entered into through the Department of Public Works, and then SASSA recently awarded 6 lease agreements for office accommodation, which was advertised as part of intervention to curb irregular expenditure. The offices include the Benoni, Springs, Alexander, Lenashiane, and Forchville, and Vereeniging. Also, there was a manager, the regional manager, Themba Matlo, who also reported on a number of issues regarding the petition, which also includes also confirming that there is no adequate for Tembisa. They are small. They're also confirming that the house is also small and also not adequate to accommodate the Tembisa residents. And also, he further reported that it was difficult to keep the building clean, which compromises the safety of both the beneficiaries and the SASSA officials due to overcrowding. Also, he also shared with the committee that complaints have been lodged on the service provider, and SASSA had started searching for alternative space, but none was available at that time. In consultation with the municipality, SASSA had built a waiting area, and additional toilets and other renovations were completed. Additional office accommodation was found within 5 kilometers in Rabasoto office in 2018. And he went on to explain that In 2014, they requested the Department of Public Works to procure new offices in Kempton Park, and the tender was advertised, but the tender unfortunately lapsed, and then they submitted a revised project execution plan to the department. And also progress updates meeting were held with the department in Johannesburg and Pretoria, and had received a paperwork from the department indicating that the procurement processes were underway. Also, the CO came back, reported that while the Department of Public Works was searching for suitable properties, SASSA itself was also searching for suitable properties in Gauteng, Rabosotho, and Kempton Park in particular. And SASSA was providing feedback to their community on the progress made, which means they say that there is a constant engagement with communities to update them on the process, on the progress made with this issue. And then the committee proceeded to deliberate on the issues raised by the petitioner as well by SASSA. The committee noted with concern that SASSA seems to dependent on the Department of Public Works and Infrastructure when it comes to office accommodation, and this has proven to be problematic. It therefore requested the minister to engage with the Minister of Public Works to urgently provide for the space office for the Tembisa office. It also wanted to know if it was possible for SASSA to use mobile trucks in the meantime. Can also SASSA indicate timelines for seeking office space? Again, the committee also noted the challenge of office space in countrywide, as was seen in Khayelitsha, where the office had been closed down. It wanted to know how often does SASSA do a cost comparison in the market, because SASSA spends a lot of money on leasing office space. And also, committee sought clarity on how often does SASSA conduct a cost analysis, ensure that the office spaces are conducive. Also, the committee commended the people of Tembisa for bringing the issue of the office space to the attention of the committee. It also appreciated the response from SASSA that acknowledged and confirmed the issue raised by the petitioners. Also, the committee advised the petitioner that people of Tembisa could make suggestions to SASSA if they know any possible buildings that SASSA can use. It also cautioned SASSA to make sure that the office spaces that the Department of Public Works makes available are in good condition. And after the deliberation, the SASSA responded. They responded that they had engagement with the Department of Public Works on execution of their plans. And the department committed that by November this year, there will be progress made on the supply of office space. On using mobile trucks as offices, the CEO, they said that they are using the trucks when they visit communities. It had stopped because of the COVID-19, but would consider the suggestion now that the committee have raised the issue of public trust to use it again. Yoli, can you move up again? I'm asthmatic, I have a short breath, members. On SASSA getting its own properties in the rural areas. Also, SASSA mentioned that they did have that opportunity, and it built and owned 11 properties on the land it was given to provincial governments. For instance, in the Northern Cape, it had built 2 properties. A challenge is that they've been received building from the department that did not serve the people very well. And the minister noted that the CEO had been striving to find a suitable office space which will be conducive to both beneficiaries of SASSA to both beneficiaries and SASSA officials. SASSA had made attempts to meet with the the Minister of the Department of Public Works. On the question of petitioners looking for suitable building, she cautioned the committee that due to processes of government procurement regulation had to be followed. She called for the process of acquiring suitable office space to be expedited, as it was a matter of serious concern to poor conditions, beneficiaries, and officials working under. Recommendations. These are the recommendations made by the committee after the observations and findings they found during the two presentations. The committee recommended that the minister should engage with the Minister of Public Works and Infrastructure to find an intervention to the challenge of office accommodation for SASSA offices. The minister should also ensure that SASSA develops a strategy or a plan to address the challenge of office accommodation by building or procuring its own office spaces and involve communities. The minister should ensure that the Department of Public Works and Infrastructure, sorry, just 1 minute. Sorry, members. Chair? Hello? Chair?
Yes, Lindy. Yes, Lindy.
Phoning, I think it's a pocket Diane. She doesn't speak. Oh, sorry. Minister should, I was in the second recommendation. The minister should ensure that the Department of Public Works and Infrastructure and SASSA prioritize the intervention to the short, medium, and long term, or alternatively, SASSA should look at using its own office spaces. The committee recommended SASSA to consider possibility of using a mobile truck as an interim measure while looking for office space. SASSA should indicate to the committee the timelines for seeking office space. Yoli, could you move up, please, Sissy? Yoli? Okay. Yoli? Could you move up, Sissy?
Okay, sorry. When is it now? Is it this one that I'm flighting? No.
Just move a bit.
Sorry.
Okay.
Is it fine now?
No, it's not moving.
It's not moving. Oh, what's going on? Okay, here we go. Is it fine now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. The minister, the minister should ensure that the Department of Public Works and Infrastructure and SASSA prioritize interventions for the short, medium, and long term, or alternatively, SASSA should look at using its own office spaces. The committee recommended SASSA to consider, the minister to consider possibility of using mobile trucks as an interim measure while looking for office space. I think this is a repetition of this recommendation. I'll go to the last one. The minister and SASSA should ensure that the office accommodation allocated by the Department of Public Works is of good quality. Thanks very much, members. This is the committee report before you for your consideration and adoption. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Lindy, for the comprehensive presentation on the petition of Tembisa residents, which was brought to the portfolio committee to one of our members, Honorable Masango. I take it that, honorable members, the report has been circulated and honorable members also had an opportunity to go through the report. But also Lindy, through her presentation, have also taken us through again. So we had a sense of what is entailed in the report, and just to remind us of the meeting that we held with the people of Tembisa. Thank you very much, Lindy, for that. Honorable members, I now table the report before the portfolio committee for its consideration. Honorable members, you are free now to come in, make inputs, comments on the report before we move for its final adoption. I see the hand of Honorable Abrams. Over to you, Honorable Abrams.
No, apologies, Acting Chair. I thought you were already on the moving in for the adoption.
Oh, okay. I first wanted to give the members an opportunity. If there's anyone who wants to comment or maybe make an addition in the areas where the report is not reflecting. But I can see there's no one who wants to come in from the members on my gadget here. There's no hands. I can now, I see the hand of Honorable Manganye. Honorable Manganye.
Thank you very much, Chair. We also asked the minister and SASSA to also explore where the officers are in the rural area. They should also explore to talk to
the chief for the land. Thanks. And then I agree with the report. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Honorable Manganye, for the addition as well. I think the committee secretariat and the content advisor, they are also capturing. They will be able to effect that particular issue we are raising as part of the recommendations of the portfolio committee. Honorable members, that's it. Can we now get a mover and seconder for the adoption of the report? I see the hand of Honorable Abrams. Over to you.
Thank you, Acting Chairperson. I move for the adoption with amendments.
Thank you very much. Honorable Abrams moves for the adoption of the report of the petition of the people of Tembisa for the amendments that have been made. Can we now get a seconder for the?
Yes, Chair. I'm seconding Honorable Abrams.
Thank you very much, Manganye. Honorable Manganye seconds the proposal to adopt the report. Thank you very much, honorable members. The report has been duly adopted. Let me hand over to you, Lindy, so that we deal now with the 3 sets of minutes. Thank you. Over to you, Lindy.
Thank you very much, Chair and members. We have 3 sets of minutes. It's for the 19th of October, the 26th of October, and the 9th of November. So I don't know whether you want me to flight the minutes and then talk through the minutes, or what would be a strategy?
No, thank you very much. I think let's follow the normal process that we normally follow, Lindy. Let's put the minutes on the screen. Members can see it. Even if we have circulated, they've read it through their time, but let's just put it again on the screen, and then you just make a summary of the presentation of the minutes. Yeah, thank you very much.
Very much, Chair. On the 19th of October, the committee was considering and adopting the committee report on the BRRR, and also was considering and adopting the 4th and the 1st quarterly report of DSD on their financial and expenditure reports. Also, the 4th quarter of committee program was adopted and considered. Also, there were minutes for consideration and adoption. Members that were present in that meeting were Member Mvana, the chairperson, Member Stock, Member Pilangulu, Member Hlongo, Member Manganye, Member Mfikwe. From the Democratic Alliance, we had Member Masango, Member Abrams, and Member Opperman. From the EFF, we have Member Iris and Member Mare. From IFP, we have Member Van der Merwe. We received only 2 apologies from Member Sukers and Member Priet. Chair, officials, the normal entourage of officials, and then the chairperson welcome all present, and then also take the committee through the agenda. And then we also receive apologies from Sukers and Bridge, who were unable to attend the meeting due to prior commitments. And then the agenda was put forward, which was which Member Polangulu moved for adoption and seconded by Member Masango without amendments. And then a set minutes of for the 2nd, for the 7th, for the 9th, for the 12th, for the 14th of October were put before the committee, which were adopted by the committee. On the 5th item, the committee considered the 4th quarter, and then 2021, 2022, and then Member Abrahams moved for adoption and seconded by Member Pilangulu. The 1st quarter, which is April, June 2023, Member Abrahams moved, and then Member Stock seconded the 1st quarter report. And there was BRRR put before the committee, and then the committee deliberated and proposed some amendments. After due deliberations, Member Manganye moved for adoption, and Member Masango supported adoption. And then we moved to the item of the fourth quarter committee program, which was October to December 2022. And then the chairperson tabled the program, and Member Abrahams moved for adoption, and then supported by Member Murray. There were a number of one resolution was made that the committee agenda that was proposed for the 9th of November to hold a workshop with the Department of Social Development and its entities be replaced by the consideration of the CDA annual report, and the workshop be deferred to the first term of 2023. Thank you very much, Chair. Those are the minutes for the 19th of October 2022 for consideration and adoption. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lindy, for the presentation on the minutes of the 19th of October. Honorable members, that's the presentation on the minutes. Any matters arising from the minutes before us, can we get an indication? And then if there's no matter arising from the minutes, okay, I see Honorable Manganye. Honorable Manganye, over to you.
No, I was saying the minutes are the true reflection of what we have discussed, so I move for the adoption.
Okay, no, thank you very much.
For the report.
Okay, no, thank you very much, Honorable Manganye. It looks like there's no matter arising from the minutes, so Honorable Manganye already moved for the adoption of the minutes. Honorable members, can we get a seconder for the mover of the adoption of the minutes?
Thank you, Chair. I second the adoption of the minutes.
Thank you very much, Honorable Hlongo. Seconds the proposal for the adoption of the minutes as a true reflection of the meeting. The minutes are duly adopted. Thank you very much, Lindy. Can we move to the next set of minutes?
Okay, see. Thank you very much, Chair. The 26th of October, it was a meeting to get a briefing from DSD on Older Persons Amendment Bill, Bill 11, 2022. Members in attendance were Member Mvana, Member Stock, Member Pilankulu, Member Hlongo, Member Manganye, Member Mfikwe, and then other members, Member Masango, Member Abrahams, Member Opperman. We had Member Aris, Member Amare, we have Member Van der Merwe, and we have Member Sukars. I think this was a full house. The chairperson welcomed all present, and then take the committee through the agenda, and then apologies were received from Member Van der Merwe for early departure from the meeting at 10:30 to take a flight. Also, the Deputy Minister tendered an apology that she was going to Mpumalanga for a business engagement, and then is unable to connect. And then for the agenda, adoption of the agenda, Member Hlongo moved for adoption of the agenda, which was seconded by Member Masango. And then in that meeting, there were no minutes scheduled for adoption. And then the department briefed the committee on the Older Persons Amendment Bill, and then also gave the background when this bill came into operation in 2010. And then there were also implementation challenges, which they mentioned a lot of other organizations that were consulted around this particular piece of legislation. And then also it reported that the financial social economic impact assessment was conducted for this bill, and then in 2020, and then also the M&E in November 2016 and 2021. And then there were public comments received from 32 stakeholder groupings, which comprise of the NPOs, sector, government departments, law firms, institutions of higher learning, and then the South African Human Rights Commission, etc. And then they also what is the purpose of this bill, and then which is to amend the Older Persons Act, Act 13 of 2006 in order to insert new definitions and provisions relating to the monitoring and evaluation of all social services rendered to older persons, and also to insert measures for the removal of an older person to a temporary safe care facility without a court order, and tightening the existing implementation and compliance measures, therefore giving effect to greater textual clarity on providing for matters there incidental thereto. So this is also these are the objectives of this bill going down. The number of issues that the committee raised, and then they also raised issues regarding the protection from financial use. There were questions raised about the protection of the older person from money lenders. I think it's a continuous issue raised even in the last previous term, whereby the vendors would take the card of the older person and keep them and etc. So also the department explained that the Social Assistance Act must makes it criminal for offense for any person who keeps in possession of a person's SASSA card. It is an offense that carries a 15-year prison term. It, however, acknowledges that more education is needed on this. It has developed a handbook that educates beneficiaries on financial literacy on social grants. Another area raised by the member is around the registration of community-based care and support services for older persons. The committee wanted to know if the amendment will apply to a partner of an elderly person as a holder of proprietary rights, who is suitable and qualified to look after an elderly person, etc. The department responded that, Chair, the department explained that it is legally prudent to allow only a juristic person or a trust to register and receive funds to operate the CBCSS than to give that to an individual. Another area that was raised by the committee is right to property section, right to property, which is section 25A and 26 and section 26. The committee wanted to know what the practicality of this clause with regard to obtaining a court order within 48 hours, especially in rural areas. It also wanted to know how the rights of association, like families and friends, will still be maintained when an elderly person is moved from his or her place of residence home. It becomes unfair when a senior citizen is removed from his or her home and the perpetrator continues to live in their home. I think it's one of the issues that was raised, whereby an elderly is moved from by family members, then ended up not having a shelter. The committee also raised instances where older persons are removed from their houses by family members, either children, grandchildren, or daughters-in-law, because they had made the house their surety to their creditors. It proposed that protection of older persons' right to property should be expanded to include matters of ownership, title deeds, and eviction orders. This means there should be involvement of the Department of Health and the Department of Justice and Constitutional Development in this regard. The department acknowledged that there is a need to protect the property rights of older persons. The challenge is that in many instances, cases are not reported. The main focus should be creation of awareness of older persons to their rights and empowering families as their primary caregivers. The abuse of the right of older persons is an indication that there is a need for concerted effort to protect the rights of older persons and mainstreaming the issue of aging. They also further explain, the explanation is extensive in this issue. Another area that the committee raised was monitoring and evaluation or implementation of the bill once passed into law. The committee sought clarity on who will have the responsibility of monitoring the implementation of the bill between the Department of Social Development, the Presidency, and the Premier's Office. It emphasized that the implementation of the bill should be cascaded down to provincial departments, including the Department of Health, as officials at that level are rude to older persons. The committee was also mentioned the issue of ill treatment of elderly person in these departments. The department explained that as a custodian of the Older Persons Act, it will monitor its implementation across government departments. The presidency, which is the Department of Planning and Monitoring and Evaluation, monitors the extent the department is implementing targets of the MTSF and a 5-year strategic plan. The premier offices are critical to ensure coordination in provisions of services to older persons. This is a cross-cutting matter that the practice is that there is a lot of dependencies on DSD, even though other departments also have pieces of legislation. They further explain, Chair and members. The next item, the next issue raised was around the protection of older persons with disabilities and chronic illnesses, which is section 25B of the proposed bill. And the government wanted to know if the section can be used to hold the Department of Health accountable for not providing chronic medication for months to older people. Also, other issue was standardization of services to older persons and remuneration of caregivers. The committee wanted to know how will the department address the lack of standardization of services to older persons and salaries of caregivers. The department reported that it conducted a costing exercises of the bill, which relied on the budget allocation for services for older persons. Another area, Chair, was the old age grant and means test. There was an extensive discussion around this, and then the committee raised concern that it is not enough to cover all the needs of older persons, medical expenses, municipal bills, food, etc. Also, residential facilities, both in the private or in the private sector, deduct a large portion of their grant. This robs elder persons of their independence and dignity. And the committee also proposed that the issue of ministers in the application of the grant should be addressed, as it discriminates against elderly persons who have working spouses who are receiving pension, government or privately funded. And the department also acknowledged that the social assistance provides for joint income to consider on both spouses to determine whether an elderly person is eligible for the grant. It is aware that it inconveniences the applicants, especially the spouse who receives a pension does not provide for his or her spouse. It is reviewing the act so as to address this gap. Another issue was the register of abuse of older persons, closure of residential facilities, moratorium of the director positions. The committee wanted to know how the bill will be implemented when a moratorium was imposed on the filling of this post. The department explained that there was no moratorium imposed and it is prioritizing the filling of critical vacant posts. While on the whole, the department appreciated the inputs made by the committee, it will consider all of them as the bill being considered. There was a resolution that the department should provide a list of temporary safe care facilities across the country. I have not yet received that information. Thank you very much. The minutes are before you for adoption. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lindy, for the presentation on the minutes. It's appreciated. Honorable members, here's the minutes of the meeting. Are there any matter arising? If there's no matter arising from this set of minutes, I will allow honorable members just to move and adopt the minutes as a true reflection of the meeting. Thank you very much. Can we note dance, honorable members? Honorable members, can we note? I see the hand of Honorable Manganye. Over to you, Honorable Manganye.
Chair, I move for the adoption.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Honorable Manganye. Honorable Manganye moves for the adoption of the minutes as a true reflection. Can we get the seconder for the mover? Honorable members, can we get the seconder?
Chairperson.
Oh, I see Honorable Alexandra, over to you.
I second the adoption of the minutes as read. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Abrams. The minutes are duly adopted, honorable members. Let's move to the last set of minutes. Lindiwe, over to you.
Thank you very much, Chair. The last set is for the 9th of November. The following members were present: the chairperson, Member Mvana, with Member Pilankulu, Member Manganye, Member Stock, Member Hlongo, and Member Mfikwe, Member Masango, Member Abrams, Member Opperman, Member Aris and Member Mare, Member Fanamerv and Member Sukars. We had a department, Member Umtunu, the ADG, and the 2 DGs. And then we had CTA, the Deputy Chairperson, Flamini, Ms. Flamini, and we have Member Mabua and Member Keller, who are both board members. And then we have our usual support staff. Member Mvana also welcomed all members present, and the departmental officials, CTA, and also parliamentary officials present. And then all members were present. There were no apologies. From the agenda perspective, Member Abram moved for adoption of the agenda, which was seconded by Member Stock, and then we received from a briefing from the Deputy Chairperson, Ms. Flamini of CTA, and then she started to recap on the last recommendation made by the committee, and the presentation also. The presentation focused on the recap on last recommendations made by the committee and progress made, introduction, CTA mandate, powers and duties, 2019 to 2024, NTP, strategic intent summary, etc. This is the outline of the presentation presented on that day. Also, she reported that the annual report was the first one to reflect on the work performed by the CTA board. As you are aware that the committee was engaged in the recruitment process of the 13 members to serve on this board. So it was their first work as the newly appointed board. The last annual report noted that in reviewing the NDMP 2019 to 24 measures were taken to incorporate the resolution of the UN General Assembly Special Session in 2016, wherein countries were encouraged to treat substance use disorders like any other chronic diseases. In 2021-2022 reports covers the period of 1 April 2021 to March 2022 and measures achievements, identify challenges, and makes recommendations. So this is the presentation in a nutshell that the deputy chairperson presented before the committee on that day, as well as there were research analysis that were forwarded to members from our researcher, where she highlighted a number of things. I'll just make one say the most common primary substance of use is the methamphetamine, also known as TIC in the Western Cape. In the Eastern Cape is alcohol. Eastern Cape and the TIC is used in the Western and Eastern Cape. Alcohol in KZN and Central Region, and heroin in Gauteng and Northern Region. Treatment admission for this for TIC as a primary substance of use are generally low, except in the Eastern Cape and the Western Cape. It was the most common primary substance reported by 36% of patients in the Eastern Cape and 36% of patients in the Western Cape. Chair, the deliberations will only be captured in the report. The committee must draft a report for this and then come before this committee for adoption, for consideration and adoption. The resolution made is that the CTA must provide the committee with each annual performance plans, as also the CTA should also submit financial statements to the committee. The CTA should also submit a list of breakdown of government's rehabilitation center and treatment centers per province. The meeting adjourned at 2040. Thank you very much, Chair. Chairperson. Member Stock.
Hi, Lindy.
Hi, Chair.
Thank you very much for the presentation and the minutes. Honorable members, the minutes have been presented to us. Is there any matter arising from the minutes? If there's none, can we get a mover and adoption? Mover for the adoption of the minutes and a seconder. Thank you very much. I see the end of Honorable Kate Bilankulu. Over to you, Mama Bilankulu.
Thank you so much, Chair. There's no addition. According to me, the minutes has been tabled before us as we deliberated on the 9th of November 2022. So to me, I move for the adoption of these minutes as a true reflection of what transpired on that very same day. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Honorable Bilankulu moves for the adoption of the minutes. Can we get a seconder, honorable members? Honorable members, I see the end of Honorable Manganye. Over to you, Mama Manganye.
I'm seconding Honorable Bilankulu as the true reflection of the minutes. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Mama Manganye. Honorable members, the minutes are duly adopted. Over to you, Lindy. Can we move to the next item? What is the next item?
There's no next item, Chair.
Oh, no, thank you very much. It means we, honorable members, we have came to the most popular item, which is closure. I would
Chair.
like to take this opportunity.
Chair?
Yes, Lindy.
Can I just try to, now that this is the last meeting, just to say, as this committee, they just want to maybe just try to remind the members that in the last meeting, when we're adopting the 4th term program, the issue of the workshop, we took a resolution that it must be deferred to January 2023. I just want to report to this committee that myself and Yuli and the department will try our level best to work during the session to ensure that by January the workshop take place. It's either in Cape Town or Joburg. So, but there will be communication with the chairperson and keep you updated. As well, next year we have 2 items. Critical ones is for the Children's Committee Bill on the Child Amendment Bill, as well as the Older Persons Amendment Bill that the committee is required to embark on. And then the committee and the chairperson must produce, we will develop the committee program for the first term of 2023. So those, I just wanted to wrap up the outstanding work that is before the committee in the first term of 2022. Of 2023. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you very much, Lindy. Just to update us as to what is should be, what is before the committee and what has been deferred for the new year. Thank you very much for that. I see the end of Honorable Marias. Honorable Paul Nita.
Thank you, Chairperson. Chairperson, I just want to take this opportunity from the EFF side to send our condolences to our Chairperson, Mavana. And also just to, because this is our last meeting, to say thank you to all the honorable members for the year that we have worked together. And may they have a blessed Christmas and New Year if we don't see each other again. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Honorable Paul Nita, for that. And then also sending a message of condolence to our Chairperson, Honorable Mvana. Thank you very much, honorable members. Since this was our last meeting of the Portfolio Committee for the year, on behalf of the Portfolio Committee, I would like to take this opportunity to thank all of you honorable members for your participation in the meeting, for your cooperation, as well as your leadership in critical matters where we sometimes disagree, but we normally find each other. Because the interest of our ordinary people is not only based on our political affiliation, but we all carry the interest of our people at heart. So by so doing, honorable members, I would like to thank all of you for being patient to each other in the Portfolio Committee in areas of our disagreements, but we remain a family, we remain a team. irrespective of our disagreements. So thank you very much for your contribution, your participation, your level of commitment as well to deliver ordinary services to our ordinary people on the ground. Thank you very much, honorable members. I would like to take this opportunity to officially declare our meeting adjourned until we meet next time. Thank you very much, honorable members. The House is adjourned. The meeting is adjourned. Thank you. Thank you.